Oh, God. Oh, God.
I was feeling left out.
You were due on in a minute.
Welcome,
Martin Brundle.
No, I don't want to interrupt these guys. Just want to say hello to them.
How you doing,
I thought you might like 3 Le Mans winners in a row.
You're a much better broadcaster than I am. Why don't you interview them?
So what are you doing next year then, Johnny? Are you still in touring cars?
Good question, yes. Well, as I said a little bit earlier on, I'm at that age that we plod around, and touring car would probably suit me down to the ground. But I don't know yet, I'm not sure.
Why don't we get a Le Mans team together? Why don't we... Well, he's busy at Le Mans anyway. Why don't we... We could join up with Nigel. He's going to Le Mans, isn't
Yes! Wouldn't that be something?
Would you all fit in the car?
Old but gold.
Not at the same time.
Hopefully Simon Strand can hear me back there. Si, can you come back out with the mic? Because we'd like to get these very knowledgeable and enthusiastic fans.
You should get Autosport to sponsor it.
Yes.
That would be a fantastic.
That would be a
British
great
car,
idea.
British team, Autosport down the side.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. That was okay then.
And the fans, they'd all like to put some money
Who'd like
in.
to see that?
Yeah.
I've just seen someone in charge of Autosport Finance Department collapsing
Collapse,
over the side. It's cardiac arrest.
Do you know how much this stand costs?
You have to cut back next year, aren't you?
Martin, quick recap of 2009. We've heard from these guys.
Should I be coming out in a minute?
You can stay. No, stay out.
Right. Yeah, but we can all talk about
I want to get the guys to ask you questions, all of you, about anything.
Yeah, good idea.
What a great year for Formula One. We're spoilt, aren't we? We've had back-to-back British World Champions, first time in 40 years, and it's put Britain and motorsport on the map.
It has, and I mean, this show has been a great success this year. I know that Jensen's victories have really motivated everyone, on top of what Lewis achieved, of course, in 2008. We've only got 2 drivers on the grid in Formula One, which is a bit worrying because, I mean, how many have we had in the past? 5 or 6 from time to time when Johnny was there, Derek Warwick, Mark Blundell, Jonathan Palmer, just goes on, Nigel, of course. Alan was on the grid, but we have had times when there were Perry McCarthy. I don't think, did he ever quite... He made the paddock. I don't think he made the grid, did he?
He wrote a jolly good book.
Yeah, he did a very good book.
Sorry.
And we've only got 2 of them out there, and we need to see some more. But it's been good, hasn't it? And it's motivated everyone. We're getting huge numbers on BBC television for the audiences, like absolutely incredible. So let's hope we're in for another classic season.
Right, let's get you guys involved, because what this trio doesn't know isn't worth knowing. Who's got a question for any of them?
Hi guys, with the Senna name coming back into F1, how do you think Bruno's going to do this season?
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Bruno yet this weekend. That's a good one.
Bruno Senna, well, he's a nice lad, and when he's a lovely lad, which always helps, I think, when you're going to have to interview them.
That's Bruno's career over.
And what's really scary about Bruno is when his visor's open, it's Ayrton. It is, isn't it? It's just...
It's eerie.
It is really spooky. And I think he's quick. I don't know if he's quick enough. We're about to find out. He's certainly worthy of a shot at Formula One. He's got to carry the burden of his uncle's name, which I think will be a lot of pressure on him. I mean, he won in GP2. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I hope Campos get it together, frankly, and I hope they can keep it together so that we see just what Bruno's got.
You guys raced against Senna, Martin, very closely in Formula 3. Johnny, you came into Formula 1, Senna was reigning champion. Was he head and shoulders above the rest? Was he that special? And were you in awe of him?
You started with him.
You started in Formula 1 soon.
Senna, for me, had a God-given talent that I haven't seen in any other driver. He just had this sixth sense of where the grip was and how fast he could go before he got to a corner, not halfway through it like I did. I'll never forget a race at Silverstone where we started in the rain. I jumped into the lead. It was pouring down after 2-3 laps. Kiki Mansilla crashed. But going down to Stowe Corner on the about second or third lap, Senna went down the outside of me, and I thought, goodbye. See you another time. I thought he'd gone off. And he went right around the outside and came out of Stowe when it was a proper corner in front of me. And I thought, how did he do that? Anyway, the race got red flagged, back to the pits. As we left to go back to the grid to restart the race, I thought, I'm going to try Senna's line. Went down the outside, hit the biggest puddle of water going to the grid, just kept it out of the barriers, got back to the start line. Senna beat me in that race. And on the podium, I said to him, hey, your line around the outside of Stowe wasn't that good, was it? In the second part of the race. He said, I don't know, I didn't try it. It was too wet. How did he know that?
He watched you.
No, well, I think equally so. I think, you know, Ayrton when he came on the scene, he was very different than I think what we had seen before. I think he was one. I think Jackie Stewart probably started it, from what I really remember, was the fitness level. But I think Ayrton and probably Allan really changed it. I think Michael, it was another change. But I think that's the typical situation. There's always the generations that do change things. And Ayrton definitely was one of those. And like Martin said, I think Donington is always the classic one for me, where he started, was it 5th or 6th or whatever it was, and he went round the outside of everybody and led on the first lap. You know, he was very, very special. And I think, you know, equally so, I think Michael should be, you know, given a lot of credit what he does. His work ethic was very different than Ayrton's. You know, he took everything out of the team completely and didn't leave anything for anybody else as a teammate, where Ayrton always did have some battles with some of his teammates as well, with Allan, for example. So there's a different work ethic, but at the end of the day, the results were, we never saw the full results of what maybe Ayrton could have done.
Sterling Moss said on Saturday that he's never been sure about Michael because he's never allowed himself to take on and beat anybody. He's never gone up against a really, really mega teammate. Very good teammates, like Johnny Herbert, but nobody really, really stellar.
I was just his warm-up act at Benetton. No, Michael, he had it all under control, didn't he? You can't, you know, that's why he's 7 times world champion. You can point as many fingers at him as you like about how you knock people off the road. He knocked me off the road several times, and I was his teammate at the time. And yeah, he did have his teammates slowed down and under control. And yes, he did pull the handbrake on in qualifying at Monaco, and he did a lot of things. And we could put him there and throw everything at him and go, so yeah, how many world championships have you got? And, you know, that's why he did it. Maybe people don't love him for it, but you can't take it away from him.
I think a lot of people do. That's the thing about him. I think there is a lot of youngsters that definitely do look up to what I think he achieved in the manner that he achieved it. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. And exactly like you say, Martin, that's why he won so many world championships. Well, it's very selfish, but fine.
Funny thing, because I grew up watching Senna on TV, but grew up at the sort of same time as Michael coming through the ranks. And from my point of view, the sort of Michael way of doing things was the way that you did it in that point of view in terms of the training and everything else. And I wasn't really around at the previous side of it. And I think Johnny's point is true, and I think that's where Michael's going to find it now, is that everybody's been watching him and how he's done it, and they're going to be coming straight back at him with everything that he's done to others in the past, and that's going to be a tough old fight for him.
Yeah, Alonso owes him one, doesn't he, for sticking him on the grass at Stowe.
And he doesn't forget.
No, that's a fact.
Right, let's have some more. Let's try and encourage these guys to tell stories.
Should we allow Bernie Ecclestone to have his way and see more new and expensive tracks like Abu Dhabi in Formula 1, or should we stick with the historical tracks like Silverstone, or should we have a mixture?
A good question, young man. I think we should have personally, I think we should have a mixture, because you know, Formula 1 is a world championship, and it needs to be seen to go all around the world. I think we're heading a bit too often out west. Abu Dhabi was an interesting venue generally when you drove into it, when you watched it on the TV, but for me it'll never match the history and heritage of Silverstone, Monza, Spa, and Snetterton. Johnny says Snetterton.
And Pembrey.
So I hope we don't get too many of them, but you know, I don't see a problem with the car going through the desert in Bahrain and then round the harbour in Monaco. I think it's quite interesting, but as long as we have got that balance and we don't trash the heritage. But if I had to make a choice between all new or all old tracks, I'd go with the old ones for sure. They're much nicer to be at.